Okay, I want you to imagine something for a second. You're standing on a stage, and I don't mean, a karaoke stage at some local bar. I mean national television.
Right, the big time.
Millions of people are watching you. You are like one of the most recognizable people on earth, known for being a talented musician. You step up for a guitar solo, something you've done thousands of times. You go for it, and you just brick it.
Ooh, painful. I can feel the secondhand cringe just hearing you describe it.
It's worse than that. You hit a genuinely awful note, a clunker, and then your brain it disconnects. You go completely blank.
That is the literal definition of a nightmare for most people.
But for Nick Jonas, that actually happened.
Yeah.
And the fascinating part to me isn't the mistake itself. It's what happened inside his head, like immediately after.
It wasn't just, oh, that was embarrassing. It sent him into a full-blown existential spiral.
Exactly. He started questioning his entire worth as a person because one finger slipped on a guitar.
Which sounds so extreme, doesn't it?
It does. And that's exactly why we're talking about him today.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into some sources, mainly a really candid conversation Nick Jonas had with Jay Shetty.
Yeah, it was incredibly raw.
And I want to be super clear here. Our mission today is not to gossip about a boy band or, argue about which brother is cutest.
No, not at all. We'll leave that to the tabloids.
We're using Nick Jonas as a case study. We're looking at the psychology of what they call performance-based identity.
Right, and the mechanics of resilience when your whole world just falls apart.
And how you rebuild your entire worldview after a trauma that makes your career seem, well, completely irrelevant.
It's really a masterclass in shifting your mental models. We're going to cover how the Jonas Brothers' empire was actually built on, homelessness and debt.
That's the part of the story that I think most people completely miss.
And we're going to unpack the specific mindset he used to get through his newborn daughter's time in the NICU. So let's start with that context, because I think everyone, myself included, kind of has this default image of the Jonas Brothers as this manufactured Disney product.
Right. Polished, perfect, purity rings, the whole deal. The glossy magazine cover version.
But when you actually dig into their origin story, it is gritty. It's desperate, actually. And getting to that aha moment of their success means looking at their absolute rock bottom.
It's the classic Phoenix from the Ashes story.
Yeah, but the Ashes were a lot messier than I ever realized.
They really were. Most people have no idea that right before the big fame hit, the Jonas family was facing this perfect storm of ruin. It wasn't a gradual thing. It was like falling off a cliff.
Walk us through that timeline, because I read they had a record deal, lost it, and then everything just spiraled.
Yeah, it's brutal. So this is the early 2000s. The brothers get signed to Columbia Records. This is it, the big break. They release an album and crickets. Nothing.
It flops.
Completely flops. The label drops them. So that's a massive blow right there. But at the exact same time, their father...
Well, a pastor, right?
Exactly, a pastor. He gets pushed out of his church.
And in that world, losing the church means...
You lose the house. They were living in the church parsonage. So within weeks, you have a family with 4 boys. Dad's lost his job. The sons have failed at music. And they'd invested so much of their own money that they're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
That's the kind of pressure that just breaks families.
They were effectively homeless. They moved into this tiny rental house in Little Falls, New Jersey, that a friend was basically letting them use. And just when you think it can't get worse, this is the exact moment that Nick starts getting really sick.
This is the diabetes diagnosis. I knew he had it, but I didn't realize the timing was that bad.
The timing is tragic. He's on some small school tour, loading his own gear because they're broke. He's losing weight like crazy. He's always thirsty. His moods are all over the place. He finally goes to the doctor, and his blood sugar is over 700.
Wow. For anyone who doesn't know, that's coma territory.
It is life-threatening. He has type 1 diabetes. So look at the situation. Financial ruin, career failure, homelessness, and a lifelong chronic illness hitting a teenager all at once.
It's a complete collapse of his entire world.
He even said he felt like God had abandoned them.
But this is where we get the first big insight for all of us, and honestly, this is what I wrote down. In the middle of all that chaos, Nick said, action is half the solution.
I love that quote. Action is half the solution. It's all about agency. When you're overwhelmed, the impulse is to freeze, to just curl up.
Right.
But they didn't. They went into the basement of that tiny rental house. Their parents scraped together enough money for an electronic drum kit so they wouldn't drive the neighbors crazy, and they just started writing.
In the basement. while their world is just burning down around them.
Exactly. And there's this idea in psychology called constraint theory. The idea that, total freedom is actually bad for creativity.
Right. If you have unlimited time and money, you just procrastinate.
Precisely. But if you have a damp basement, a cheap drum kit, and your family's survival depends on you writing a hit song, you get incredibly focused.
That desperation becomes fuel.
It does. They wrote 11 songs in about 9 months down there. And because they were scared and angry, the music had this real angst to it. Those basement songs became the self-titled album that sold millions.
So the Disney polish we all saw was really just a veneer over this raw energy that was born from poverty and illness.
Exactly. They didn't succeed despite hitting rock bottom. They succeeded because of it. The constraint forced the breakthrough.
Okay, so they rocket to stardom, they save the family, SOS is everywhere, but this introduces a whole new psychological trap, the labeling trap.
Yeah.
And this applies to anyone with a job title, not just pop stars.
Oh, it's so pervasive. In the boy band model, you need archetypes for marketing. You need the heartthrob, the funny one.
You need a lane. So what was Nick's lane?
Nick was labeled the serious one, the shy, moody, creative one.
Which, to be fair, he kind of was, right? He was writing all the serious songs.
He was, but here's the danger. There's this thing called labeling theory. Basically, if enough people tell you you're something, you start to perform that identity.
He started playing a caricature of himself.
He admitted it. He'd walk into a room and think, okay, I have to be the adult. I can't be silly. I can't make mistakes. I'm the serious one.
He internalized the marketing. He became the mask.
Deeply. He said it totally shaped his inner voice. He wasn't allowed to be a messy teenager. He had to be. He called it the skyscraper.
The skyscraper. Explain that metaphor because it's a really powerful image.
It is. He saw his identity as this big, impressive structure built on one single thing: his musical talent and professionalism.
I am a good musician. I am successful. That's the whole foundation.
Yes, but the problem with skyscrapers is they're rigid. They don't bend. If the foundation cracks, the whole thing feels like it's about to collapse.
And the foundation definitely shook during that guitar solo we talked about at the beginning.
The Kelsey Ballerini performance. He goes for the solo, hits that bad note, and his mind goes blank. Now, for you or me, that's just an oops moment.
Sure.
For Nick Jonas, this serious professional, it was a structural failure. He said he just went into a spiral.
He said something about the meta-judgment after that, which I thought was so insightful.
Yes, the cycle of shame.
He judged himself for the mistake, which is normal, but then he judged himself for being upset about it. Why do I even care? This is stupid. I'm a loser for caring. It's this infinite loop of self-criticism.
It's exhausting, and it's a classic sign of what psychologists call enmeshment, where your self-worth is totally tangled up with your achievements.
If I perform well, I am good. If I perform badly, I am bad.
There's no separation. He actually wrote about it in his song Gut Punch. The lyric is, I hurt my own feelings. How did I get so good at being mean to myself?
That line hits hard.
It's realizing your inner critic is more abusive than any troll on the internet could ever be.
So he's trapped in this perfectionist skyscraper. But then life throws something at him that makes a bad guitar note look completely, totally ridiculous.
This is the real pivot point of the story. This is where it goes from career anxiety to just primal survival.
The birth of his daughter, Malti Marie.
His daughter was born via surrogate, but she came way, way too early.
How early?
She arrived in April, months early. She weighed 1 pound, 11 ounces.
1 pound, I can't even picture that. That's lighter than a bag of sugar.
It's incredibly small. Nick said she looked purple and needed to be resuscitated immediately. And you have to remember, this was during peak COVID protocols.
Oh, right. So no family in the waiting room, no support system.
Barely the parents could be there. He and his wife, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, had to do these alternating shifts. They spent over 100 days, 3.5 months in the NICU.
100 days. Just thinking about that, my chest gets tight.
He described it as so visceral, he can still smell the hospital. It's this constant state of uncertainty. Every time a monitor beeps, your heart just stops.
How do you not break under that kind of trauma? Especially someone like Nick, who's so used to controlling the outcome.
You can't. You can't write a hit song to fix a premature lung. You can't work hard to make it better.
No.
And that loss of control is what finally shattered the skyscraper. He had to let go of being the serious fixer. He had to find a different kind of strength.
He mentioned something about anxiety, that he doesn't have a clinical diagnosis, but he has flare-ups ever since the NICU.
It sounds like a form of post-traumatic stress. I mean, the body remembers that fear. Once you've seen how fragile life is, you can't unsee it.
Of course.
But, and this is the paradox I found so beautiful, he says he is actually more playful now than he ever was before.
Wait, how does that work? He's more anxious, but more playful.
It's something called post-traumatic growth. When you face something that immense, all the petty stuff it vanishes. Being the cool Jonas brother doesn't matter anymore.
All the labels.
They don't matter. The only thing that matters is connection. So now he does silly voices. He plays make-believe. He lets his daughter paint his face.
He stopped performing for the world and started performing for an audience of one.
Exactly. He said his daughter, who's 4 now, asks him these huge questions like, why is glass clear? Or why are people mean?
And his answer to why are people mean was incredible.
He told her, probably because they're hurting.
That's such a compassionate, evolved answer. Most parents would just say, because they're bad.
It shows he's learned to apply that same empathy to himself, that his own inner critic, the one yelling at him about the guitar solo, was just a part of him that was hurting.
He's healing the father by parenting the child.
In a way, yeah.
I do want to touch on the partnership with Priyanka because they had a real strategy for handling the NICU.
They did. It was this passing ships strategy. They knew they couldn't both fall apart at the same time. If they both collapsed, who's there for Malti?
So it was a conscious agreement.
It seemed to be. If you need to cry, I'll be the rock. If you need a moment of levity, I'll be the one to make the joke. And then tomorrow, we switch. It's emotional load balancing.
That's so smart. It prevents the whole system from crashing. And speaking of them, we have to lighten the mood with their meet cute because it's pretty funny.
It is. It really breaks the fairy tale mold.
It wasn't some fancy gala. Nick Jonas literally slid into her DMs on Twitter.
A very bold move. He sent a message like, I'm hearing from mutual friends we should meet.
Which is smooth. But then for their first date, drinks at the Carlisle in New York.
Mm-hmm.
She's 45 minutes late.
45 minutes, most guys would be gone.
He almost was. He said he was checking his watch. But he stayed. And then she apparently made fun of him for picking a bougie bar where the average age was 65.
That absolutely tracks for old soul Nick Jonas. But it worked. He said by date 3, he knew he was going to marry her.
2.5 months later, they were engaged.
Speedrun. But what I find really compelling is the cultural integration. Nick has really embraced Indian culture.
Totally. Jay Shetty, who did the interview, mentioned that Nick throws the best Diwali party in LA.
He said it was better than the ones actual Indians throw. That's high praise.
It is, and I think that connects back to the whole skyscraper idea. Western celebrity culture is so individualistic.
Mm-hmm. It's about you.
But Indian culture is generally more collectivist. It's about family, community. For a guy who grew up in that tight-knit brothers environment, that probably felt like coming home.
I think so. It expands his foundation. He's not just a solo pillar. He's part of a bigger structure now.
Though they did share some of their domestic annoyances, which I found very relatable.
The texting.
The texting. He hates it when Priyanka's on the phone with him and asks him to text someone else for her.
While I've got you, it's multitasking to an extreme.
And she does that thing where she answers the phone but keeps talking to someone in the room for 30 seconds.
Leaving him hanging on the line, that's a total power move.
It's just human, though. It shows that even when you're global icons, you still bicker about phone etiquette.
Right? Grounds them.
So we've gone from the basement in Jersey to the terrifying silence of the NICU. We've seen the skyscraper crack and be rebuilt. And Nick offered one final piece of advice. He said, live like you're at the bottom, even if you're at the top.
That's the bumper sticker for this entire deep dive.
Unpack that for us. What does that actually mean?
I think it connects right back to that basement. When you're at the bottom, you're hungry, you're humble, you're willing to try anything because you have nothing to lose.
And when you're at the top,
you get defensive, you get scared of losing what you have, you stop taking risks, you start protecting the skyscraper instead of building something new.
So he's saying, keep the grit, don't let the private jets and the comfort dull that creative edge that got you there in the first place.
Exactly. But I think there's another layer to it now that he's a dad. Living like you're at the bottom also means remembering what's real.
How so?
Well, the bottom is where life actually happens. The top is just a view. When he was in the NICU, he was at the absolute bottom, emotionally. But he was more present and connected to his family than he ever was on a stadium stage.
That's a profound distinction. It really feels like Nick Jonas spent his entire youth trying to be the adult in the room, the serious one, the professional.
Holding it all together.
And now, through the trauma and the joy of fatherhood, He's finally learning how to be a child again.
He's learning to play. He's learning that one bad note isn't the end of the world.
Which leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? Maybe that inner critic, that voice telling us we're not good enough, that we have to be perfect. Maybe it's just a scared adult trying to silence the fearless kid we all used to be.
And maybe it's time we handed the microphone back to that kid.
I love that. A perfect place to leave it. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.